Enterprise M3 Careers Hub in Basingstoke, and I would like to welcome Emily Bartley and her mum Sue Bartley, who are going to speak to us today about Emily's apprenticeship pathway, and also to speak to Sue and ask her from a parent perspective how she felt when Emily decided to pursue that pathway. So welcome Emily, welcome Sue. Emily, you are a digital marketing executive at Tide 55 in Andover.
Yes.
Okay, welcome. I wonder whether you could tell me how you finished your A-levels and how you progressed into working at Tide 55, maybe by starting to tell me by what A-levels did you study at Alton College?
Yeah, so when I was at Alton, I studied sociology, English language, and art and design, which kind of shows you that I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do with my career, because I picked, very varied A-levels.
Yeah.
But I kind of knew that I wanted to do something creative. That was
Okay.
kind of the main reason, I thought art and design, I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I thought a career that kind of was in that creative element would be a really cool way to go down.
Okay. And so when you were at Alton College and you're studying for your A-levels, and then people start talking to you about writing personal statements to apply to university, what was the sort of the factors that made you think, actually, I want to look at the alternatives to going to university?
Yes, I think when I was at college, I knew I didn't want to do university. And I think for me, I was an academic person, but the thought of doing even more exams, I just really didn't like the thought of that. I thought, actually, I just want to get out there and start working and earning money and just getting, those really practical skills and to kind of progress in my career. Yeah. So I kind of knew, a lot of my friends wanted to go to uni, and I thought, should I follow them? But I thought, actually, no, I need to do what's right for me and kind of explore different routes that were out there.
That's a really nice example of like when we say follow your own path and not be drawn into like what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
That's a really nice example there. And Sue, like, how did you feel about Emily's kind of thought process and the path that she wanted to choose?
Well, because I knew she really didn't want to go to uni.
Yeah.
And because I'm in education myself, I know that there's different routes for different people, different routes suit different people, and I was really keen for her to do the apprenticeship route. I thought that was a really good route into a fulfilling career.
Brilliant. And so whilst everyone else was looking at university courses, what was the process that you undertook, and kind of like, did you get much support when you were at college? How did you find the whole process?
Yeah, so I found at college we didn't get the most support when it came to apprenticeships. You had the job fair, here and there, but I was a really shy person, so the thought of going to a job fair and speaking to kind of strangers was really daunting for me. So, we had a few presentations about apprenticeships, so I kind of knew about them, but not in great detail. So me and my mum actually just kind of started researching ourselves and kind of seeing what was out there using like the Gov.uk website, and just kind of seeing, what area I wanted to go down, and that's when we found the apprenticeship at the council. Okay,
so tell us a little bit about what was the apprenticeship that you undertook, and so this was at Basingstoke Council, wasn't it? So what was the title of the apprenticeship? What level was it?
So it was in the economy and culture team at Basingstoke and Dean Council, and I had the choice of either doing a business admin apprenticeship or a social media apprenticeship, and that really stood out to me because I thought, this is quite an interesting choice. Usually you don't get that with an apprenticeship. It's just kind of like, this is the qualification you're doing, this is the sort of role you're doing.
Yeah.
So I kind of went for the interview, and they kind of said, what preference do you have? And I said, actually, social media would be really interesting, because I thought that brings in the creative element that I've been looking for.
Yes, definitely.
Because again, I didn't still know exactly what I wanted to do with my career, but I knew, bringing in something like that would be really cool. So once I kind of got the job, I kind of settled in. They said, right, you can make your decision. I said, yeah, definitely the social media one. And I thought, it's a bit different to the business admin one.
Yeah.
And that was linked up with Beacott College. So I had an assessor come out once a week and kind of just went through kind of different learning areas. Then I went off, did my own research, and kind of implemented what I was learning into the council. Yeah. And then every month I had like an exam, which was really nice. Like it was not like a written exam. It's kind of like you did it on computer. Okay. It might have been a conversational one.
Okay.
So it was, a very different experience, but for me it wasn't like I was sat there writing essays, which is, what I didn't want to do with university and stuff like that. So it was definitely a good experience.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up finishing the social media qualification 6 months early.
Wow.
So for me it was a really good kind of introduction to what apprenticeships could really be like.
Yeah. So you didn't go into college one day a week, which is
No.
what some young people do when they do the apprenticeship. So you were in the office sort of 5 days a week,
Yeah.
learning on the job.
Yeah.
So did you find that like the content of the apprenticeship that you were learning, you were able to sort of see it in practice whilst you were like working?
Yeah, that's the thing, because with our team at the council, it was split into different areas. You kind of had economic development, arts and events, and marketing. So I could actually use all the skills I'd learned into like each different area,
Yeah.
which was really exciting. And obviously that's when I started really getting interested in the marketing element, and I thought, oh, actually, this is something that I'm really enjoying.
Excellent.
So they started kind of letting me kind of run some of the social channels, do some email marketing,
Yeah.
and kind of my responsibilities started to grow as I kind of started learning more and more from the actual apprenticeship element of it.
And I guess your confidence must have grown, because you said you were quite shy. But
Yeah.
then going into a work environment, and being able to kind of like thrive, it sounds to me like it was really like a positive experience.
Yeah, I think for me, obviously, the original thought of kind of working in a big office was very daunting, but it actually really improved my confidence so much.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful for that, because it has really transformed me as a person and kind of what I'm able to do. I started working with a lot of the other apprentices there, becoming their mentor and stuff like that. So, there was a lot of different things which I, never thought I'd ever do.
Wow.
So, my confidence has, absolutely gone through the roof since then.
And Sue, I'm sure that you must have noticed that from a mum's sort of perspective on the outside. How did you feel when you were sort of like witnessing Emily flourish, really?
Well, it was absolutely fantastic, because like Emily said, she'd gone from somebody who was very shy, who wouldn't speak to anybody,
Really?
and that she didn't know. And I think the whole apprenticeship route and the fact that the council was such a nurturing environment.
Yeah.
They believed in her. They
Yes.
knew what she was capable of,
Wow.
and she absolutely flew. It really, really
Oh.
thrived in that environment, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And to finish the sort of what would have been, say, like an 18-month apprenticeship, you go level 3 within the year. So then what happened? Were you worried that you thought, well, what next? Or
Yeah, so you always have that worry. You're like, oh, will they employ me full time? Is this kind of the end of my time at the council? And then my manager turned to me and said, oh, we'd love to offer you the opportunity to do a degree apprenticeship. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it wasn't something I was expecting at all.
yeah.
And they said, it'll be in digital marketing, because they knew that's the area that I'd really, got a passion for.
Yeah.
And then they let me choose which uni I wanted to do it at. So I went for Solent University, because I thought it's still nice and local.
Yes.
But it'd be just fun to kind of get out and kind of explore that area and see what I can learn doing a degree apprenticeship.
So it's that scenario where the council paid for your degree, you were being paid at the same time, and you were given the time to go to Solent and to do the studying, like the qualification element of the degree, which is an amazing mix. And I'm sure, again, as Paul sort of bringing you in here, so like you must have thought, wow, this is great.
It was fantastic, because Emily was obviously earning money whilst doing the degree as well,
Yes.
and you sort of had the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But it was hard work.
Okay, let's talk about that kind of like the work element, because it's easy to kind of go, oh, that's lovely, isn't it? But like, what was your like work study split? How often did you have to go to university? Can you give us a bit of an idea of how that worked?
Yeah, so university was 1 day a week.
Okay.
So we went in every Thursday, and it ended up just being 4 apprentices. So it was a very small class.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting, because they all worked, for big corporations.
Oh,
So we
did
all
they?
kind of had loads of different examples, when we were getting taught,
Yeah.
that we could kind of, bring back to organisations. And I actually found like it was a really nice process. But I did find, when COVID hit, obviously everything went online. So
Yeah.
that was quite a big switch up. And I think we all found that a little bit harder because you're not physically in a classroom.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same. You're not having the same conversations as you would be if you're, in person.
Yeah.
So that was definitely kind of a big kick. But, we all kind of took that on board. But yeah, I'd say the whole process was great because, we were learning a lot of different kind of areas, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
And kind of every exam we had to do, we could use examples from our workplace. So that kind of tied in the whole apprenticeship element. And that almost made it not easier, but because I had that experience and I was physically doing the tasks that I was learning, it made it a lot easier to kind of write essays because I was like, oh, well, I do this already, so I can, just input that into the essays.
So you're able to draw on your experience of being in the workplace. And we talk about putting things into context, and because you could put the learning into context, it tends to make learning a bit more accessible and also enjoyable, because you kind of have that confidence, I imagine, to think, oh yeah, I know what I'm reading about here and what I'm being taught, because like you say, we do it. Which if you'd had just gone to uni fresh from doing A levels, then you wouldn't have been able to draw upon that experience or knowledge, would you?
I really think I would have struggled if I'd just gone straight from uni from A levels, because as you say, the experience is so important, and for me it allowed me to put everything into context and really understand the whole digital marketing world. So I think it was a perfect route for me. But obviously, I originally was like, I never want to do uni. Yeah. So it was still a big a big leap going from a level 3 to a level kind of 4 to 6. It was quite a change. But it was hard, but I kind of got through it and and graduated. So
graduation must have been a proud day.
That was very proud moment.
Yeah,
very proud indeed. But you had to, the whole way through, you had to have really good time management.
Yes.
Because you're always juggling your paid work and your assignments and things.
I think that was the hardest thing, because obviously you had your day release. But uni's a lot more than just a day's work a week. Yes. So I was working evenings, weekends. It was a lot of kind of effort that I had to put into it, but it was definitely worth it in the end. So but time management was definitely the biggest factor there.
Because often when people do degree apprenticeships, they maybe do it over like 4 years or even 5, but this was over 3 years. So it was the same length of time had you taken the traditional route. So I can really imagine that with a full-time job as well, that must have been really demanding. So kind of hats off to you for managing that. And so you did this 3 years. So what was the degree that you achieved?
So it was a first class honours in digital marketing, and I got a first. So so that was really exciting. And I think it was just, once you've put so much effort into it, especially the dissertation, we still had to do that.
Yes.
And it was just an amazing feeling to get that result.
I'm sure. I can imagine, and imagine how proud you all are for your achievement. And so then you've got your degree, and you're still working at the council in Basingstoke, and then what?
So I was kind of looking around and was like, is there any job opportunities at the council? Because I really enjoyed it there. It was such a lovely team. We definitely worked in a really fun department. Okay. So I would have absolutely happily stayed there. But unfortunately, there just wasn't kind of the right role for me. There wasn't different departments, but I knew marketing was now the career that I wanted to go down. So I kind of started looking elsewhere. And I thought, let's jump on LinkedIn, because I know it can be a really great tool. So I just started posting more and kind of started dropping hints that I was going to start looking for jobs soon. And that's when I got approached by Tide 55. So the CEO reached out to me and kind of said, we'd love to have a chat, and kind of we've seen what you've been doing on LinkedIn, and we're really interested in talking to you. And I thought, okay, LinkedIn has actually, it's worked.
That's a great example. So you were just being quite active on LinkedIn. So you were posting sort of relevant content under your profile. And then it gets spotted by someone who is sort of in the market to recruit a young, passionate, qualified young person. Excellent. Okay, so then what happened?
So I went in for a informal chat.
Yes.
It ended up being kind of me actually asking the questions to them. So I was like, oh, okay, this is a bit of a switch up.
Yeah.
And yeah, the interview went really well. And they kind of rang me a few days later and were like, oh, you know, we'd love you to kind of do a task for us. And I was like, okay. I'd never done that kind of element of an interview before. So I kind of, you know, really prepared for it. I did the task, and then they're like, yeah, we'll contact you, you know, next week. And I actually got a call the next day to say, yeah, we'd love to have you if you'll work with us. So I was, you know, an absolute shock. I thought, you know, there's no way. I didn't expect to get a job that quickly, you know, after leaving the council. So I was, really, really happy to have something, you know, lined up for kind of once I'd officially finished at the council.
Wow. That's such a great story, isn't it? And you must have been delighted, because as a parent, like, you think, you always worry about your children. But like thinking, well, it's great, and she's got her first class honours degree, but then like, now what? And then, you know, the next stage feels like it was just naturally happened. And, you know, it doesn't sound to me like, you know, a young person lacking in confidence there. You know, you went into that sort of informal interview scenario, and you smashed it, which is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Out of interest, to give sort of young people that might be sitting in school or college an idea, like, what was the task that they asked you to do at Time 55? What we talk about digital marketing, there's so many elements to it, but what did they want to see you produce to make them think, oh, like, she's got some skills, we'd like to bring them in our company?
Yeah, so they asked me to kind of do a presentation to kind of look into one of their clients and kind of propose a new strategy. So I kind of had to research, you know, the website, their socials, and kind of put together 3, you know, key objectives as to how I'd change it. And obviously I had no idea kind of what they did for the company. So it was very much, you know, you're worried because you're like, I could be criticising their work. But actually I think they almost wanted that. They wanted someone with a fresh pair of eyes to go in and be like, right, this is what I'd change. And I also had to kind of do a presentation about, you know, some of the work I'd done for the council, and just kind of showcase, you know, some of the emails I created, some of the social posts I'd created and stuff like that. So it was kind of 2 different elements of the task. And obviously, it was quite nerve-wracking, because you don't know how it's going to go down, do you? So but it went really well. So yeah, it was quite a fun task, I think.
Yeah. And would you agree that, like, you know, like the confidence and the experience and your passion, when you bring it all together, although like being in an interview situation can be quite nerve-wracking, when you've got that sort of experience and knowledge in your bag, you can do it with sort of like much more confidence, can't you?
Yeah, no, I found when they were asking me questions, it wasn't kind of testing my kind of uni ability, it was more about the experience. And I thought, gosh, if I'd just come out of university and not done an apprenticeship, I wouldn't actually have that experience. So for me, I found it really beneficial that I had you know, 4.5 years at the council, because I had so much to say about, you know, what I've physically already done. So yeah, that was really, really helpful in the interview process.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, Sue, from your perspective, you know, sort of, I've worked in education and done careers advice, and often come across parents who are a bit unsure about whether their son or daughter should, you know, kind of even investigate the apprenticeship pathway. What would you say to parents who are a bit unsure?
Well, I think you've got to look at all different avenues to find what is the best for your child.
Yes.
What suits them the best, their skills, their personality. And certainly for us as parents, Emily going down the apprenticeship route was the exact right route for her.
Yes.
She wouldn't be where she is now if she hadn't taken that pathway. And I think it's worth, you know, really looking at apprenticeships, because it's a way of succeeding whilst still being at home.
Yes.
And it's a really good way of developing self-belief and self-confidence.
Yes, yeah. And obviously as well, like Emily, you've been earning money all the time. You've been working in your apprenticeship, and you haven't accrued the debt that young people will sort of have by the time they finish their degree. So from a financial perspective, you know, that's been a real kind of positive as well, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because I know, you know, apprenticeships can have that bad stigma. You know, you're not
Yeah.
paid very well, but actually you are still learning on the job. So
Yes.
you know, you're not naturally going to be on that top wage until
No.
once you've got that qualification. So I
Yes.
always knew, you know, that was a slight risk, but at the same time I was like, well, I'm getting paid to do a degree. No one really gets that, do they? Unless they do a degree apprenticeship. So for me, I found it, a really amazing opportunity. And yeah, just earning money the whole time, you know, it was great for me. So yeah.
Excellent. And so, what does the future hold for Emily Bartley?
So I obviously want to continue developing at Tide 55. I think it's
Yes.
been, you know, I've only been there a few months. I've got, you know, so much more to learn.
Yes.
Obviously switching from the public sector to the private sector it's a big switch up. So,
Yeah.
you know, kind of developing in that area.
Yeah.
And I'd love to manage an apprentice one day. I think I'd love to give someone that experience that I've been able to have and kind of share my knowledge and really help someone kind of learn in that industry. Because, you know, it's transformed my career, and I'd love to just, you know, help another young person and transform theirs as well.
Oh, that sounds amazing, and I guess that really leads nicely on to my last question. So, young people sitting in school and college, thinking about their next steps, is there kind of like one bit of advice that you would give them?
I'd say don't follow the crowd. Don't follow your friends, because at the end of the day, it's your career, it's your life.
Yeah.
You know, do exactly what you want to do. Explore different options. You know, you may try uni and think, actually, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Why not try an apprenticeship? There's so many different, you know, industries that you can go into. You can literally do as many apprenticeships as you want. There's no holding you back. So, you know, just go for it.
I think that's amazing advice, and it's been really inspiring, I think, to hear your story, to hear from your perspective as well, Sue. And and really thank you for coming in and sharing that with us today. Thank you both.
Thank you.